Professor A.K. Narayan has vigorously proposed that this figure should be seen as the clinching evidence for proving that the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha took place in the year 483 BCE. Narayan has translated the relevant portion of the edict like this, to quote him: "The proclamation was made having given, that is allowed or having passed, 256 years to elapse after the ascension of the body of our Buddha." So on this basis, Professor Narayan said that the date of 483 that is calculated by the Buddha should be accepted as a reasonable calculation. Though of course even this date is tentative, because we, as I said in the beginning, our sources are not really sufficient to the calculation. So though the date of issue of this edict is hard to fix, Narayan Sahib feels that it must have been issued towards the end of his reign, that is in the year 37, that is the year 228 BCE. The upshot of this is that the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha took place in the year 484 BC, that is 228 plus 256. As months and days are not mentioned, 484 BCE can be calibrated to 483 BCE. Professor Narayan further points out that the date calculated in this manner has its own merits, in the sense that it is independent of the so-called two Buddhist traditions as well as that of the dotted record, the amended version of which incidentally stands not only substantiated now, but also freed from its dubious association with the later Theravada tradition. Archaeological evidence has also been used in support of the long chronology. The Pali Canon gives clear evidence of Buddhism being an urban religion and the Buddha having preached in urban centers. A large number of the urban centers mentioned in the Pali Canon that have been identified have given evidence of northern black polished ware, that is NBPW. Though the precise dates of the origin and spread of NBPW in the Ganga Valley are not without dispute, yet there is a general consensus that it had become fairly widely spread by about 500 BCE. It has been suggested that it would be fair to say that Buddhism as well as the Ganga urbanization, also known as the second urbanization, had become well established by this date. The earliest portions of the Pali Canon presuppose the existence of a developed currency, and such a currency involving large transactions of gold and silver coins must have taken time to develop. It has been proposed that it is not possible to date the earliest coins, yet it may only be said that coins were current prior to the 5th century BCE. Thus, the evidence of the existence of coinage is also seen as supporting the long chronology. The Buddhist Sangha was dependent on the existence of a strong economic base. The monks were supposed to spend the rainy retreat, the Varshavasas, in fixed locations, and this would have been easiest near large urban settlements. The large cities were no longer mere administrative centers and sovereign residences. They had also become the nerve centers of economy and commerce. Uncertain and unsatisfactory as archaeological data still is in this context, it appears to lean towards supporting an early rather than late date for the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. In other words, there is at least a good case that can be made for the Buddha having lived in the 6th century BCE. The Deepvansh and the Mahavansh talk of 5 patriarchs, acharyas, who transmitted the Vinaya from the time of the Buddha's death till the period of King Ashok. These 5 elders were Upali, Dasak, Sonak, Siggav and Mogliputta Tis. The Deepvansh mentions that learned Upali was all the years, that is from the Mahaparinirvan, chief of the Vinaya. Elder Dasak 50, Sonak 44, Siggav 55, the elder called Mogliput 68. This is what is mentioned in the Deepvansh. So the Deepvansh also mentions that Upali was the custodian of the Vinaya for 30 years. The Deepvansh further informs us that Siggav died when 14 years of the reign of Chandragupta Maurya had elapsed. As King Chandragupta Maurya had begun his reign in 321 BCE approximately, Siggav's death appears to have taken place in the year 307 BC, that is 321, and then you go back 14 years, 307 BCE. This information given in the Deepvansh can be summed like this: Upali, Dasak, Sonak and Siggav had kept the Vinaya for 30, 50, 44 and 54 years respectively, making it a total of 178 years, 30 plus 50 plus 40 plus 54, 178 years. This means that between the year when Upali became the Vinaya custodian, that is when the Buddha died, till the death of Siggav, that is 178 years later. So this means that 178 years had elapsed between the death of Siggav and the death of the Buddha. So because the death of Siggav took place in the year 307 BCE, this would mean that the Buddha's death may approximately be placed in the year 483 BCE, that is 307 plus 176, 483 BCE. This agrees with the date calculated on the basis of the popular number 218 as well as the dotted record of Canton. Thus, the year 483 BCE should be accepted as the year in which the death of the Buddha took place. However, this date should only be taken as an approximate date for the reason that most of the information available is quite tentative. Thank you very much. So in this lecture, what I have explained to you is how the date of the Buddha has been calculated and how the year 483 BCE appears to be the most acceptable date of the Mahaparinirvana of the Buddha. Thank you so much.